Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be playing in the Swedish Tier 10 tank destroyer. And while this vehicle is the most accurate tank in this game, it has the third highest damage per minute, I'm not going to sit at the back and camp in this scenario. When I am playing on Assault, I feel that if I've got any kind of speed, my vehicle can go roughly about 50, hopefully 60 kilometers an hour. If I've got any kind of camo rating, I'm going to just try and cross at the beginning of the battle, even if I don't have a turret. Because if you're able to cross and you're able to take this D4 area on Corellia Assault, you have just such a huge impact in the battle, both with regards to vision and also with regards to how you can control your opponents. Now, quintessential tank destroyer positions on this map will be sitting up on this ridge and providing sniping across the center. However, in a game like this where there's only one light tank and they are bottom tier, there's pretty much not going to be much vision there. And so, by ploughing forwards in a pretty fast tank, especially if you use a turbo on it, we're able to extend the view range for the other 4 tank destroyers on my team and hopefully get them in. But oh dear. Even though I managed to make it across, unspotted, having not taken any damage at all, the first shot that hits my tank from a pesky Type 61 sets me on fire. And ouch! That is pretty much the worst start ever, losing 1,000 hit points, over 1,000 hit points to a single shot from a lower tier medium tank. Not getting any vision, not getting any pressure on, well, I've got pressure on the enemy team with my position, but not getting any benefit for myself. Now in these kind of scenarios, you've really got to kind of just take a deep breath, exhale, and try and just accept that, look, it's not the end of the world. So you've taken some damage, it happens. That's why you've got more hit points than being able to take like one shot or even one shot on a fire, even if you don't have a fire extinguisher crew. And on a vehicle like this that only has 3 crew members, there's a lot of pressure if you to take a fire extinguisher crew if you were to put them on all 3 crew members. Now if Wargaming implement kind of like the crew 2.0 features, only having it on a radio operator, yeah, I think it'll be one of the best skills to take on a radio operator if that is the case. Especially if, like me, use a premium consumable and don't use a fire extinguisher. On a tank like this, when you get to pump up everything about it by 5%, yeah, premium consumable really scales well on an STRV 103B. I mean, come on, it's the 3rd highest damage per minute in the game. Now, interestingly enough, the STRV 103B, while it's the most accurate tank destroyer base, it's not the most accurate tank inside my garage. The 0.25 accuracy on this vehicle, I actually make worse by improving the vehicle's rate of fire by 3% with one of the field mods. That comes at the expense of making the accuracy of the vehicle 5% worse, but I feel like it's worth it. Okay, well, you know what? I may have had the worst start ever, but that Bat Chat 12T is pretty much having one of the worst games ever. Goodness gracious. Talk about being the eyes of your team and, like, face palming into the mud there, probably burying themselves for eternity. Mud and swamps very good for actually preserving tanks because I guess like the lack of oxygen prevents any kind of breakdown. Goodness gracious, that was a tangent that I didn't think I was going to go on to. Well, you know what, adding in the historical relevance, QuickyBaby, get back on subject. And that is, for the STRV 103B, I take the rate of fire improvement because quite often with this tank it's about locking down your opponent's tracks and just keeping on going at them. Whereas on the Grilla, I actually decide to lower my rate of fire by 3% to improve my accuracy by 5%, even on a very accurate tank like the Grilla, because I think that it's all about making each of those shots count. Whereas on this vehicle, it's about tracking and getting multiple shots out. And when you got a gun rammer on this vehicle, oh man, this thing fires quickly. Let me also clarify for all of the STRV players out there, people like me who love these Swedish tank destroyers, what is the best equipment to take on this vehicle? Well, the #1 piece of equipment on this tank, apart from arguably the gun rammer, because you want to pump up the damage per minute as much as you can, will be the turbo. The turbo absolutely revolutionizes this tank. Look how we can quickly go forwards and pull back without leaving the siege mode. I've actually got a Bond turbo on this tank, which will mean that I'm able to go 16 kilometers an hour fast forwards inside the siege mode, and I believe I'm going to be going 14 backwards inside the siege mode. That is just outrageous stuff, and it revolutionizes how this vehicle feels. Without a turbo, the Swedish tank destroyers pretty much have to leave the siege mode before they pull back, which it's awful. It just doesn't work out. Trust me, if any of you have not tried the tier 8, 9, and 10 Swedish tank destroyers with a turbo, drop whatever. It's far better than the vents, and you know how much I love my vents on this tank. And all around my builds on this vehicle will be, I'll be using a gun rammer with optics and a turbo for my all-purpose sniper build that you see me using here. And then when I'm on a close quarters combat map, I think I actually drop out the optics to use a durability device so that I can keep my tracks healthy and have a few extra hit points to be even more aggressive on the ridgeline. So this game just isn't really progressing how we need it. It's really not been a good round all from the start with that fire. I mean, I'm happy that I haven't taken any shots since and that I managed to squeeze out 3,500 combined. But at this stage of the battle, I did not think that we were going to win. We're losing the northern flank. We haven't won the southern flank. Luckily, I actually managed to shoot that moisture outside my render distance there. And we've got most of our hit points in a big glut of tank destroyers and a glass cannon medium that just aren't going to be impactful. And so, while we might have had the worst start ever, it's not too late to still carry this game. Sitting there and sniping, it's not going to win the battle here. We've got to be aggressive, we've got to take chances, we've got to try and get vision, we've got to try and get hull down against our opponents, and interestingly enough, this vehicle is very powerful hull down. Now it's lower plate, not so much, it's only got 40mm of lower plate armor, so your opponents need 121mm caliber guns to be able to penetrate the lower plate with an overmatch, or they can fire heat and be able to get it. However, the upper hull on this vehicle is kind of up to about 60mm thick, and so you can be able to get some pretty decent ricochets. And with a kind of like this space protection bar on the front of the vehicle, which protects against high explosive anti-tank rounds, yeah, when your opponents miss their 490 alpha damage shot, you get to put round after round after round in. This is what a gun rammer, fuel, or food I should say, improving that rate of fire by an additional 5%, and also importantly taking that field mod that improves it by another 3%. Because at these kind of distances, it doesn't matter if you make your tank 5% less accurate, it's already got amazing accuracy to begin with, and to have that kind of rate of fire, we just shredded that moisture. We put 7 rounds into the moisture in total, and 5 in quick succession there. And you can't substitute damage per minute in World of Tanks. Sure, damage per minute isn't as important quite often as alpha damage or accuracy, but when you need raw firepower to win a battle quickly, this is where tanks like the Badger, the Tortoise, and then the third in the damage per minute hierarchy, the STRV 103B, come into play. And I love this tank for these kind of scenarios, just slowly grinding towards your opponents. You'll see that I looked towards my left there to just align my reticle up to figure out where the Foch is. Because that Foch, it's only going to take 2 seconds of shooting me in the side to be able to finish me off. The sirens go off, 2 minutes left inside this game, and we lock the Centurion in place. The Foch that I was trying to avoid earlier puts 1 round into our side, puts 1 round into the Lorraine. Luckily, the Lorraine finishes off the Centurion, and now I get to go after this Foch. In this kind of situation, the Foch will have to get incredibly lucky to hit my weak point to be able to penetrate me. But look at that, we're returning fire, putting 2 quickly into the Foch. And also, I managed to get into the cap circle with 2 seconds spare to be able to cap out this game. Wow, T-30 comes out, trumps at the end of this battle as well, putting a big old round into the tier 10 German tank destroyer. And just like that, in pretty much about 2-3 minutes of aggressive, all-in combat, we have got ourselves right back into this game. So now it's just about capping out with the Super Conqueror. But if the Foch is going to appear, you know what, we'll take our chances right at the top of the vehicle. And there we go. And we didn't take any extra penetrating shots from the start of this game, adding 7,000 damage to our total without even receiving a hit point in return. And this is why just because you get a bad start doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. Keep calm, carry on, and you can still be able to crunch some big games, albeit with a good amount of luck. And also, don't be afraid to roll the dice, you know. If you are stuck in those kind of scenarios, as we were in the center of this map with a big glut of tank destroyers, take it upon yourself, whatever vehicle you are, to just roll the dice, because at the end of the day, don't get to keep your tank anyway in a loss. Unless, of course, the credits of the repair cost really mean that much to you. So a cracking round here for an absolute cracking Swedish vehicle, I love this tank. Every time I play it, magic seems to happen. And because it's basically a medium tank without a turret, with one of the most amazing guns in World of Tanks, and also field mods that really help this thing transcend to become one of the better tank destroyers in the hands of a capable player in the game. So an ace tanker here for the STRV 103B for our 1309 base experience, a high caliber for that 7000 damage, and an unusual medal for a tank destroyer, a scout medal for spotting 10 out of 15 players on the enemy team. And because we added the T30 to a platoon who shut down that Yak Panzeri 100, we also get a Brothers in Arms medal. And so there you have it, ladies and gents, boys and girls. It doesn't matter how badly you start when you're playing an epic tank like the STRV 103B. You don't only snipe in it. It's never too late to come out on top. Anyway, that's it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for the World of Tanks Tank Tree Showcase live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, the majority of you want to see one of the most hard tanks to remain cool in, and that is the FV4202. But you know what? If things go well, it can also be pretty hard for your opponents to remain cool. So come along as I showcase the entirety of the turreted British tank destroyers, culminating with the vehicle with the highest alpha damage in the game. So really looking forward to seeing you all live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.